Queen jumping from the Ravens to the Steelers. First round pick, they didn't pick up his fifth-year option, which was the first sign that they didn't view him to be the guy that they thought he was going to be when he was a first-round draft pick. And then they trade for Roquan Smith and pay Roquan Smith. Yeah, it's great to have both of them together. They made the financial decision that the resources weren't there for both guys, so Queen goes to Pittsburgh, and now he gets his shot, Myles, this weekend against the Baltimore Ravens. And Queen, Chris Sims was making the point in the viewing room on Sunday. He thinks Queen is better than Roquan Smith. That they should have kept Queen instead of Smith, but they trade for him, they sign him. They're kind of locked in with Smith. Queen may be better right now than Roquan Smith.
Well, I do find it interesting that, the Ravens, who are a place that, they draft, they develop, they retain most of the time, right? Then they go out and they do trade for a guy like Roquan Smith, who does obviously fit the mold of the Ravens, but in the same way that somebody might fit the mold of the Ravens, they kind of probably fit the mold of the Steelers too. And so it was interesting, hearing Patrick Queen talk about that. And, I wrote about it yesterday at PFT, and, what he said, I kind of resonated with, where it's like, anybody would probably feel some type of way when you put all of your effort into making a team as great as it can be, right? You pour all kinds of hours into it, and then they just let you go. And it's kind of like, wait a minute, like you drafted me here, I feel like I'm a Raven. And then basically he said it took until late August, early September for him to really get over the fact that the Ravens did not want him anymore. And so it's great that he went to the Steelers because, well, what do you do every year? You play the Ravens at least twice a year, if not three times in the postseason. And certainly that could be the case this year with Baltimore and Pittsburgh. So I think that even though he says, yeah, I'm going to feel a little bit of emotions. I'm not necessarily sure how it's going to all go. Like, I think that this is going to be very interesting, just that sort of chess match between a Lamar Jackson, right? And how he wants to run and how he wants to operate versus a Patrick Queen, somebody who saw him in practice every day, and now somebody who's got to go against him on a rival team in the division. Should be fun.
Steelers get their first divisional game of the year in Week 11. They've not played the Ravens, the Bengals, or the Browns yet. They'll play 6 of them over the remaining 8 weeks of the regular season. So what's more likely as the Ravens 7-3 take on the Steelers 7-2? Lamar Jackson has more total touchdowns than turnovers, or more turnovers than total touchdowns?
I'm going to go with more turnovers than touchdowns. And I'm doing it because I believe in the Steelers this year, and I believe in what Mike Tomlin's doing over there. It's really interesting because Lamar Jackson versus the Ravens, it's sort of like the kryptonite, the bugaboo, whatever you want to call it, right? He does not perform as well against them. And it's the opposite effect probably of what we see from Lamar Jackson versus NFC teams, where they don't see him. So it's like, whoa, what is this? I don't understand what it is that I'm seeing. How can this guy do all of these things at quarterback? Whereas even though Mike Tomlin, is giving him the designation of Mr. Jackson, right? They see this guy twice a year. So it lessens the factors of the unknown, right? They understand what it looks like to face Lamar Jackson. We saw Lamar Jackson struggle a little bit against the Cleveland Browns a few weeks ago. I think it's that same effect. So that's why I would go with turnovers over touchdowns.
It is amazing. He's only faced them 4 times. He's been the starter full time since this. Really, it happened during 2018, but week 1, 2019, he's the guy. But there's been injuries. There's been other things that have kept him from facing the Steelers. And I actually think it hurts him that it's a 1 o'clock Eastern game because Lamar Jackson, for whatever reason, you get him under the lights, he finds a higher level. That 1 o'clock Eastern game window, that's when the Ravens seem to have their lapses. That's when they seem to be not as sharp as they are. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, but I know what I've seen. And it just fits that this is a Steelers moment. Afternoon game, Ravens coming to town. Yeah, the Ravens had a couple of extra days to get ready, but look at what that did for the Jets last week. Look at what it did for the Texans last week, having extra days to get ready. I agree with you. I think there's going to be more Lamar Jackson turnovers than touchdowns because that's been the history. And that's why I think it gets to the point we were talking about earlier. You want to see great teams not have lapses. The Ravens have too many lapses. And this won't necessarily be a lapse because this is toe-to-toe with another great team, a team with a better record than them. I think it's going to – Ravens can still win, but I don't think it's going to be Superman, Neo, the Matrix, Lamar Jackson that we've seen from time to time this year. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.